It is August 24th, 2001. An Airbus A330 carrying 306 people is cruising at 39,000 feet over the pitch-black Atlantic Ocean. Suddenly, the engines spool down and stop completely. In seconds, this 200-ton aircraft becomes a powerless glider, dropping silently toward the water. The pilots are staring at a scenario that shouldn't exist. Flight 236 was loaded with 5.5 tons of extra fuel before takeoff, more than enough to reach its destination, despite minor delays. The fuel didn't simply vanish. This crisis is the final result of a chain reaction of tiny human errors that started on the ground over a week earlier. 9 days before the flight, a routine inspection turned up metal chips in the plane's right engine. The airline needed to get the jet flying quickly, so they rushed a replacement. They leased a Rolls-Royce engine, but it was an older model. When the lead mechanic went to check the installation guidelines, the digital manual was offline. Facing a tight Sunday deadline, the maintenance team took a shortcut. To force the new engine to fit, a mechanic installed a newer-style fuel tube alongside an older-style hydraulic tube. Because these incompatible pipes sat mere millimeters apart, the intense vibration and pressure of every flight caused them to begin slowly rubbing together. Back on the night of Flight 236, that friction finally takes its toll. The metal wall gives way, tearing an L-shaped crack directly into the fuel tube. Aviation fuel immediately blasts out of the fractured pipe at a rate of 13 tons per hour. Yet inside the cockpit, no alarm sound. The Airbus A330 was designed without a direct fuel leak sensor, so the pilots are totally blind to the crisis. 4 years earlier, French aviation authorities investigated a nearly identical leak on another jet. They recommended that Airbus install automated warning systems for this exact scenario, but that update was never made. The aircraft is quietly losing tons of fuel into the Atlantic, and because of a missing sensor and ignored safety warnings, the cockpit remains eerily calm. Hours into the flight, the computers detect unequal weight in the wings and flash a fuel imbalance advisory. Surrounded by hundreds of readouts, the pilots assume it is merely a computer glitch. There is a specific emergency checklist for a suspected leak, but the crew decides to rely entirely on their memory to handle the imbalance. To balance the weight between the left and right wings, they open the crossfeed valve. They intend to save the plane, but they are actually doing the opposite. By linking the tanks, they are pumping their remaining fuel from the healthy wing directly into the ocean. This one decision, driven by assumption and a missed checklist, turns a manageable mechanical issue into a point of no-return catastrophe. At 34,000 feet, the left engine consumes the last drop of fuel and shuts down. The cabin is instantly plunged into darkness. With the main electrical generators dead, the plane relies on its last mechanical lifeline. A ram air turbine automatically drops from the belly of the plane, using the rushing wind to provide bare minimum power to the instruments. The 306 people on board are now entirely in the hands of Captain Robert Pichet. Before flying commercial jets, Pichet worked as a bush pilot, where he learned to manually land planes on remote lakes and dirt strips without any automated assistance. Every sophisticated computer system has failed. Survival now depends entirely on one man's ability to fly a 200-ton machine by feel alone. For 19 minutes, the powerless jet drops out of the sky, aiming for a tiny military airbase in the Azores. Without engines, they get exactly one try. There is no possibility of a second attempt. They hit the runway with massive force. Landing without engine thrust requires violent braking, blowing out tires and sending sparks flying from the locked wheels. The battered plane grinds to a halt. Flight 236 completes the longest powerless glide in commercial history with 0 fatalities. A single maintenance shortcut and a missed checklist brought this machine to its knees. In the end, saving it required the crew to ignore the computer entirely and rely on basic piloting instinct.